Here's the surprising way that Xbox saved the day. What's up, y'all? I'm Ray, and this is my channel, Xbox Ready, where we talk about Xbox stuff. And in today's video, we're gonna be talking about how Xbox has unexpectedly saved one of the most iconic franchises from this generation. And in order to do that, let's go ahead and take a walk down memory lane back to January of 2023. They had Developer Direct for the first time. They shadow dropped a little game called Hi-Fi Rush. It was developed by Tango Gameworks. It got all sorts of critical acclaim. Throughout the year, it was nominated and won a bunch of awards, but financially, it wasn't really working out. It wasn't really a huge seller. It was the equivalent of like a really cool artsy film that all the critics loved, but no one went to go see in the movies. Or at least that's what we thought, because then Xbox came out, specifically Aaron Greenberg, was like, no, Hi-Fi Rush is a success, a tremendous success in literally every metric that we use to measure success. They went on to use this game and a bunch of promotional stuff to try to sell Xbox consoles, to try to push Game Pass subs. But despite all of the awards and the acclaim and all of the attention, no matter what Xbox was saying, Microsoft, in a shocking twist, decided to shut down 4 Bethesda game studios a couple of months ago, including Tango Gameworks, which left the futures of games like Hi-Fi Rush and Ghostwire Tokyo, a game that was supposedly going to get a sequel according to leaks a couple of months prior, their futures were uncertain. But in another surprising, shocking twist, Krafton Games, the publisher behind PUBG, they not only decided to buy Tango Gameworks, the studio, but they also bought the IP to Hi-Fi Rush, meaning that Tango Gameworks can continue to work on Hi-Fi Rush, put out whatever updates they want for it. They can work on pretty much anything else that they want to work on that they haven't revealed yet, and even make a sequel to Hi-Fi Rush. There is a bit of a catch. Only about half of the employees from the original Tango Gameworks are going to make it over in this transfer. According to Krafton, that's not because they didn't want the other half. No, they wanted the whole staff. They wanted the whole studio. People are assuming it's because those other employees either ducked out of the industry entirely because it's so bad for game developers right now. They're getting fired left and right and things are just crazy, or they found other jobs. I can't imagine that would affect the production of a sequel to Hi-Fi Rush in any significant way, because it's looking that the leadership especially is largely staying the same. This video is brought to you by Manscaped. Manscaped is so much more. They offer so much more than products to help you shave certain parts of your body. And with the addition of the Manscaped Scalp Buffer, your hair is going to be looking glorious. I've been using one of these for a while now. I am prone to scalp buildup, a couple of other scalp conditions I don't want to get fully into. But with the Manscaped Scalp Buffer, it makes sure that I can really penetrate my thick, glorious hair, get to my scalp, remove any weird, funky buildup and dirt that's accumulated over the day, and also make sure that my shampoo and conditioner are penetrating to my scalp and actually nourishing it. It's made out of silicone and it's 100% antibacterial, so you don't have to worry about any weird stuff hitching a ride on this thing versus a traditional loofah that's just sitting there in the open air and collecting God knows what in between showers. And with something like this, believe it or not, you'll be saving some money in the long run because you're not going to be using as much shampoo. You just need a little dime and then you put it on this and it goes way farther than just using your hands. Speaking of shampoo, Manscaped offers a 2-in-1 shampoo conditioner that'll have you feeling and smelling awesome. And also, this thing just feels good. It feels like a little tiny scalp massage, which could be nice after you had a long day. And when all is said and done, you're finished with your shampoo, conditioner, all of that. It has this little notch at the top, so you can put it on a hook, forget about it, and it's out of the way. If you want to start giving your scalp the love and attention it deserves, you can go on over to manscaped.com and use my code XBOXREADY to get 20% off of a scalp buffer plus free international shipping. Thanks again to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. But Ray, hold on. How are you saying that Xbox is saving the day when they were the ones that shut down the studio in the first place? And I will argue that they saved Hi-Fi Rush. They saved Tango Gameworks by, well, not being complete and total dicks. And yes, you could say that they were being dicks when they decided to shut down those studios, shut down Tango Gameworks. But here's what I consider to be the ultimate dick move in those kinds of situations: when a tech company, a media conglomerate, a game studio, whatever, when the higher ups decide to shut it down, they also hold on to the IP. And they don't do anything with the IP. They just say, no, you can't work on it. You can't have it, anything to do with it. And sure, Xbox may have been in a similar situation when they parted ways with Bungie and they were like, you can't work on Halo anymore. We're gonna keep the rights and the intellectual property to Halo, but at least they did something with it. They continue to make Halo games. They made a Halo TV show, but we don't have to talk about that. No, I'm thinking more of like, I don't know, GameStop shutting down Game Informer and deleting all of the digital archives of it, firing all those people, and again, doing nothing with it, not even allowing the original staff to continue their work on it independently. I'm thinking of, I don't know, Warner Brothers, who shot an entire Batgirl movie, edited it, fully produced it, and then was like, you know what, let's go ahead, kill it, tax purposes, it'll be awesome. Are you gonna do anything with it? No, we're just gonna kill it literally for taxes. I'm sure that same situation has played out with a number of your favorite YouTube channels or podcasts. Zero Punctuation is one that comes to mind. So yes, while Xbox may have been in the wrong by trying to shut down Tango Gameworks in the first place, at least they didn't take it any further. They decided, hey, we are open to shopping around the studio, we're open to shopping around the IP, and by doing so, fans of Hi-Fi Rush, like me, get to hope again, we get to dream again. Ideally, Tango Gameworks would still be an Xbox first-party studio, but hey, I'll take it. So as an Xbox fan, specifically, what does this mean? I've seen a lot of questions floating around like, oh, is Hi-Fi Rush and other games like Ghostwire Tokyo, Evil Dead, are they gonna still be on Xbox? Are they still gonna be on Game Pass? And right now it's looking like yes, they're both gonna remain exactly where they are. Krafton specifically said in their press release, hey, we don't wanna mess with anywhere that Tango Gameworks' games currently exist. And I'm also wondering, as an Xbox fan, are they gonna regret this? Is Tango Gameworks gonna be the studio that got away? Are they gonna go and break off, be under Krafton and make a mega hit that's gonna change the entire industry, be super popular, blow up, and then Xbox is just gonna be like the bitter X in the corner, wondering what could have been? On one end, I don't think so. I just don't think that Tango is, I love their games, don't get me wrong, but I don't like looking at what they've done so far. It doesn't seem like they're gonna make a game that's gonna blow up like Bungie after they left Xbox with Destiny. But at the same time, I really think that Xbox could have benefited immensely from having a studio like Tango Gameworks under their belt, especially if all of these statements from Matt Booty saying like, oh yeah, we need smaller games like Hi-Fi Rush for the prestige, for the accolades, for the awards. That's like literally what Tango Gameworks does. They may not be bestsellers, but they have a fierce, loyal following, which is something, again, that Xbox could have benefited from, because right now they're seen as like this rich, spoiled kid on the block, like opening up their checkbook to buy up all these studios and publishers. Where a studio like Tango Gameworks, they could have pointed to their work and said, no, we're not all about the big budget AAA games. We also like innovative, like kind of wacky, kooky, out there AA and indie games too. So this is the good ending, right? Like this is everything worked out. We all get to live happily ever after. Tango makes another sequel to Hi-Fi Rush. It's awesome. Or they do whatever. I wouldn't be so sure of that just yet. Because Krafton is kind of, you know what I mean? First of all, Tango and the kind of games that they make are very different for what Krafton is most known for. They do publish single-player games like Subnautica Below Zero, one of my favorite games from the past couple of years. And they also own Striking Distance Studios, which put out Callisto Protocol a couple years back. But I will say, Krafton, they did, as a publisher, a really good job with Callisto Protocol specifically. Ton of marketing for that game. There was a lot of really awesome press. I remember being at Comic-Con LA watching the boys panel with Karen Fukuhara, and she was like, yeah, I just did this game, Callisto Protocol, blah, 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 you should totally check it out. There was physical copies of the games, there was consistent patches from when the game released onward, so as a publisher, they did a pretty good job with Callisto Protocol. Now, the game itself, it's okay. I actually recently just beat it. But hopefully Krafton can bring that same kind of energy to whatever Tango Gameworks decides to do next. Obviously, we didn't have a proper marketing cycle leading up to the release of Hi-Fi Rush because it was shadow dropped at Developer Direct. So part of me is curious to see what Tango can do, what kind of success they can have with that proper marketing and hype cycle. On the other end, Glenn Schofield, who was the co-founder of Striking Distance Studios and recently just left after Callisto Protocol flopped critically, he just did an interview with another YouTuber where he was like, yeah, Krafton forced us to ship the game early. I wanted a couple of more months to really work on some things, and they were like, no, you gotta ship this game now. And I see a lot of people being like, all Krafton needs to do is let Tango Gameworks cook, let them do their thing. And if what Glenn Schofield's saying is true, they might not have the opportunity to do that under this publisher. That's the negative outlook on it though. Sometimes these IP and these franchises, they get bought up and it works out. Like a lot of the former THQ games, they were picked up by Nordic Studios and actually ended up being pretty good. So while I still have a lot of questions about how this partnership is going to work out, this acquisition, we should celebrate that one of Xbox's former best studios or more celebrated studios, Tango, is still around, and we have the potential for a sequel to one of Xbox's best games from the past couple of years. Swinging it back over to the Xbox perspective, I do wonder, what is Xbox's end game here? They're willing to sell off their studios, they're willing to sell off the IP to their games. What's the end game here? I thought the games was where the money is at for Xbox because they want to push Game Pass subscriptions, cloud gaming. They want to hype up like all of these exclusive games that are coming out under the Xbox Game Studios umbrella. But if they're willing to let them walk, like, where is the money coming from? What's the future? What's the strategy going ahead? Because I'm telling you one thing right now, it is not hardware. As we've talked about on the channel before, hardware revenue is down in a big way for Xbox. And another report just came out saying that only 13% of Xbox's revenue comes from hardware sales, which obviously, given what we know about how sales are going in general, not that surprising. But when you compare it to the other platform holders like Sony, like Nintendo, it's a pretty big difference. Sony's sitting at around like 27% revenue gain from hardware sales, and Nintendo, no surprise, is at like over 40, like 47, 50. And what frustrates me seeing these numbers from Nintendo as an Xbox fan is that it basically stands as a testament, as a proof of concept that you can build a successful gaming platform around just your hardware if you have the library of exclusives to back it up. It's no secret that the Nintendo Switch has experienced a tremendous amount of success since it launched. Despite being vastly underpowered compared to the Xbox One, PS4, PS5, Xbox Series X and S, it doesn't matter. Sure, when they launched, they had a great gimmick to help market it. You can play it handheld, you can dock it and play it on your TV, on your monitor. I'm sure that was appealing to a lot of people, but what really sold it, what really made it a home run, was that there were games on that platform that you can't experience anywhere else. They've been pumping out titles that are basically can't miss games. This is something that I've talked about before, but going back to when I was a little baby Ray, I have always had some sort of Nintendo console. It started with Pokemon. Oh, I gotta get a Game Boy Color to play Pokemon. I gotta get a Nintendo 64 so I can play Pokemon Arena. Then I was introduced to Fire Emblem. Then they came out with Super Smash Brothers. And then my reasoning shifted again. I was like, oh, I gotta get a Game Boy 2DS at least so I can play Fire Emblem Awakening. I gotta get a Nintendo Switch so I can keep up with the latest Smash, but also Fire Emblem Three Houses. I gotta get my wife her own Switch because there's no way that she's missing out on any new Animal Crossing stuff. Everyone always talks about how PlayStation, they have these exclusive bangers. But compared to Nintendo, honestly, as an Xbox fan, I gotta give them props. It's very admirable what they've been able to achieve. And it frustrates me because it kind of seems like Xbox doesn't see the same correlation between a great library of exclusives and an increase in hardware sales. Now, that's the perspective of someone who is pro Xbox hardware, pro to a certain extent Xbox exclusives. But if you're Xbox, if you are Microsoft especially, you don't give a damn about, oh, 13% of our revenue only comes from hardware. Because simultaneously, you are literally breaking records in terms of gaming revenue earned. Literally, their revenue has more than doubled since 2015, 2016, less than 10 years. Now, a lot of that is because of Activision Blizzard, Call of Duty. But again, if you're Xbox, who cares? All that matters is the results. That doesn't mean they can rest on their laurels, they can clap their hands together and say, okay, the job is done. As an Xbox fan, the last thing I want is for Microsoft Xbox to just be Activision 2.0. These dudes who just pump out Call of Duty, rake in the money, rinse and repeat. No, I want them to take that extra revenue, and by extension what I hope is extra profit, and reinvest that into other parts of their gaming business. It may not seem like it right now, but Xbox is so much more. They have so much more to offer besides Call of Duty. So we could either play out like, oh my gosh, we're making so much money thanks to Activision Blizzard that we can afford to keep making Xbox consoles because at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, we're still rich. Or they can sit down and decide, okay, you know what, there's no point in making Xbox hardware, let's just funnel more of our money into our publishing efforts. We can take comfort in the fact that Xbox has committed several times to not only these current generations of Xbox consoles, the Series X and S, but also next gen at least. So there's no immediate worry that Xbox is gonna leave hardware entirely. But we also know that Microsoft and the people above our friends at Xbox have very different ideas of how Xbox should head into the future. If it was up to Microsoft, they would probably be like, hell no to hardware, let's just put our games on Game Pass and let it roll. Or everything turns around after this next wave of games come out, all the games that we saw from the June showcase. We have an awesome end to 2024, we have an awesome 2025, and Xbox is back on top, baby. Anyways, guys, that's all the Xbox stuff I have to talk about today. Thanks so much for joining me for another edition of Xbox Ready. If you made it this far into the video, consider subscribing. Help me get to 200,000 subs. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.